Certain biopsychosocial factors had an impact on Mary's development. Mary graduated high school in 1950. So while it was not rare for women to go to college at that time, it was not unusual for a woman not to go to college. Even though Mary did not think that her gender played a role in her life trajectory, I would argue that it did have an underlying impact on her life and life decisions. For the same reasons, the generation in which she grew up had an impact on her life as well. Her relationship with her father seems to be her most impactful relationship on her life, for reasons that I've actually already covered. Finally, her religion played a significant role as well. Some of her earliest memories were of church, and her role as a Sunday school teacher helped her to come out of her shell. To this day, she is still very involved in her congregation and has had many important responsibilities throughout the years. As I've already mentioned, when I was speaking with Mary, I thought that maybe the choice not to further her education was part of the larger society at the time, when women were more likely to marry and start a family instead of go to college or enter the workforce. However, when I posed this question, Mary made it clear that that was not a factor in her life decisions. I don't think she faced much oppression as a result of being a woman, but her generation is certainly one in which women were oppressed due to their gender. I was interested in learning how Mary was able to overcome her shyness. One particular study, Psychosocial Precursors and Correlates of Differing Internalizing Trajectories from 3 to 15 years, examined how individuals overcame internalizing temperaments. The study says that factors associated with recovering from elevated symptoms included higher levels of social competence, better parent and peer relations, and more positive school adjustment. Findings suggest that individual characteristics and relationship experiences may be involved in the development and course of internalizing problems. This is in line with how Mary's life from adolescence into young adulthood has played out. She has been socially competent, had good relationships, and has had a positive adjustment from school to work into various work positions. Another study, a prospective longitudinal study of shyness from infancy to adolescence, stability, age-related changes, and prediction of socio-emotional functioning, looked at the temperament of children from infancy to adolescence, using surveys to parents, healthcare workers, and the individuals themselves when they reached a certain age. The results from this study tell us that the stability and change of shyness within different developmental periods may differentially impact upon socio-emotional functioning in early adolescence. The onset of Mary's shyness around the 5th grade may have impacted her ability to overcome her shyness later in life, since her shyness came upon later in childhood. More importantly, as she transitioned from one developmental stage to the next, she had an opportunity that also provided room for her temperamental change. As I mentioned, Mary had a very close relationship with her father. I think for the most part it was a very healthy relationship. However, he did hold his daughters with very high esteem. Mary's father was very disappointed when she decided not to go to college or law school. There were some interesting details that I gathered about her relationship with her father. It sounds like he would have done anything for his daughters and wanted them to be successful. He would often hold information until the very last minute possible. For example, he bought Mary a trombone and she had weekly lessons. However, each week she was unsure if she was even going to have another trombone lesson until right beforehand. He would also reward his daughters for straight A's with $5 for each A they earned. Mary swore that if she ever had her own children, she would never do the same things her father did. She was also easily embarrassed by her father. He was very proud of Mary, and he would often brag about her accomplishments at work. Mary would get so embarrassed and mad at him for doing this that she would often not speak to him for a week at a time. The way she treated her father at times was her biggest regret in life. She later used this as an example to teach her Sunday school classes how to have good relationships with their parents. I've already mentioned that Mary's church community had an important role in her development in helping her come out of her shell by teaching Sunday school and becoming involved. Also in the 1950s, there was a time of change and transition, which carried on throughout her life. I think the generation that Mary was born into allowed her to be a successful single woman, but in order to do so, she had to be a strong and independent woman, another factor in forcing her out of her shell. Her church community was integral in her adolescence and young adult development. Without the social interaction and encouragement from others to get involved, she would have missed an opportunity to be more social. Mary's development can be observed through another theory, the social learning theory, which posits that individuals are actively involved in their lives. They react to stimuli and observe others in their surroundings and take actions accordingly. There are three parts to the social learning theory: modeling, which is watching others and learning from their actions; self-efficacy, which is the expectation that oneself can and will succeed; and systemic desensitization, which is like a rewards and punishment system to overcome difficult situations. I think that Mary successfully used the social learning theory upon herself. She noticed how others were enjoying relationships by being outgoing and open to others, so she changed the way she lived her life through systemic desensitization, because she has high self-efficacy, believing that she could succeed. Without going through this self-reflection, it's worth wondering if Mary would still be a shy and introverted person. Mary's experience is a classic example of someone taking an active role in their own life. All theories have their limitations, and Erikson's is no different. This theory has been criticized by being too connected to age timelines and specific conflicts. The crisis of each stage may not necessarily take place in the age frame that Erikson proposes. Also, as Rogers points out, each stage is defined by a specific crisis. However, there may not be global definitions that are the same for each crisis, leading to confusion or differences. Many factors can affect the life stages in Erikson's theory. Changing societal norms, such as more access to education, can lead to major life milestones happening, or not happening at all, at different ages. For instance, many men and women these days are delaying marriage and children to establish careers, leading to different life changes at different stages. Lastly, Erikson's theory is difficult to measure and to quantify. This concludes my presentation, and I hope you enjoy it. These are the sources that I've used throughout. Thank you.